Have you heard about Yarn Lane, a TV show dedicated to knitting, crochet and all things yarn, bringing you demonstrations from our expert guests as well as the latest tools. And find out what's coming up on the show by following us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to our email newsletter or visit the programme guide on our website at www.yarnlane.com.
Are you a fan of Sewing Street and Yarn Lane? Why not join our growing Facebook fans pages? Just search Sewing Street Fans and Yarn Lane TV Fans on Facebook and click Join Group. It's that simple. Never miss out on the latest news and updates from our presenters and guest designers, special offers and plenty of chat with your fellow fans. Share photos of your makes, ask for advice, interact with your favourite guests and presenters and be a part of the ever-growing sewing and yarn community. See you there!
Follow Sewing Street and Yarn Lane on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with what's coming up on the show, as well as being the first to know about our amazing offers. Get involved with our competitions that are exclusive to social media. And pick up some top tips from us too.
Hi, I'm Sam from Adventures in Crafting. I'm a craft and crochet teacher based in Tring in Hertfordshire. Since lockdown, I've moved all of my classes onto Zoom, so I now have customers from all over the country. I teach lots of crafts, but crochet is my specialism. I became passionate about crochet when I was pregnant with my fourth child and in desperate need of some me time. Crochet became my sanctuary and I've crocheted every day since then. I'm a qualified teacher and 8 years ago I began teaching crochet. I love sharing my passion with other people. I design patterns, sell kits and teach lots of classes. My classes range from beginners to next steps, specific makes and clubs. I also like to design crochet alongs. My most recent one was my autumn granny square crochet along, which resulted in me designing this allotment jumper, which I love to wear when I'm out gardening and looking after my chickens. My crochet tip for you is to enjoy it. Crochet should be about taking part in a hobby that brings you pleasure. My claim to fame is that I met Kirsty Allsop at the Handmade Fair and I gave her one of my crochet sunflower brooches. I'm so excited to be taking part in Yarn Lane and I hope you'll enjoy my demonstrations.
In need of a crafting fix? There are so many ways you can watch Sewing Street and Yarn Lane. Sewing Street is live from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. every day on Freeview 72 and Sky 670. Alternatively, if you want to watch us on a tablet or on the move, you can tune in on our YouTube channel, the Sewing Street app, or the websites at www.sewingstreet.com and www.yarnlane.com. You can watch past shows on Sky 670 from 1 p.m. every day, as well as our YouTube channel, the app, and our website. Yarn Lane is on from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Visit our programme guide to find out when and what's on. So you never have to spend a minute without us.
We know that shopping online can be a confusing and sometimes daunting task, and sometimes all you want to do is talk to a human being. Well, our family-run customer service team are on call 24/7. They're full of friendly, warm-hearted individuals, all trained to make your shopping experience as easy and as enjoyable as possible. And not only will they take your order, they will also help and guide you on your shopping journey, so you never miss out.
Welcome to Yarn Lane, and today is all about crochet. So excited, because if you're like me and you've been collecting Sam's seasonal wreaths. Today is the last one. It's the autumn wreath. Now, if you haven't shopped with Yarn Lane before, let me just give you a quick run through. If you've got an account with Sewing Street, exactly the same account number that you could use for this, but we have a different website. You have to shop on www.yarnlane.com, but you shop on it in the same way as you would with Sewing Street. So if you click on the Watch Live, there you go, and then there's me, and if you scroll down, and there it is, pre-order, everything that is coming up in the show will be there. Makes it a lot easier to shop that way. So it'll go into 2 columns. It'll go on to pre-order and show deals. But just click on the one that you want to buy. And then that means if you get ahead now, you put it in your basket, you can sit back and watch the demo. That's much simpler. We do also have a call phone number if you prefer to shop on phone. It's a UK call centre just down the road. So really, really helpful people if you've got any questions or any issues at all, or you want some advice with what you're buying. Phone number is on the screen now, 0800 4700 600. Okay, so as I said, we have today the autumn wreath, which actually is on Sam's table. Brand new today. So do you want a picture of it? We'll show you in a picture in a minute. So the full kit. Sorry, the picture is just, oh, there it is. I can see it now. That's a lovely picture. I think that's Sam's hands in that picture. There we go. Look at the autumn wreath. Now, you don't have to have all 4, obviously. This one, I have to say, is my favourite. Look at it. Look at the owl. All of the wreaths, you'll see in a minute, feature a bird. They're all different, but it's just the owl's gorgeous. And I love those sunflowers. So we had an autumn fabric hour at 8 o'clock this morning, and it was all sunflowers.
Oh, how lovely.
Because it's autumn, isn't it?
Yeah, love them.
And it is, quarter of the stock of this one went on pre-order, and it is the 2nd day of autumn.
Wow.
So there we go.
Yeah. Oh, gosh,
so shall I show? Well, anyway, there were 4. So that's the autumn one. No, let me go. Can we go through all of them so we can say pictures, and then I will show you what's in the kits for them. Basically, everything's in the kit. So, should we start with spring? There's spring. Spring is standing on the rotary cutters. Oh! I knew that was going to happen. Yes, look at that. Now, this is the one that I have made so far. I have got all 3 of them. I'm going to get the autumn one. But because I'm doing Sam's Granny Square cardigan, I haven't finished that, so I can't finish off the wreaths. But I've made this one. Isn't it beautiful? It's hanging on the back of my kitchen door, so I'm afraid it's spring all year round at the moment in my house. But it will.
I have them all hanging up.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Like a piece of artwork on the wall.
So you're not going to keep
all at the same time.
yours.
Yeah, no, I just like them all together.
They are beautiful, aren't they? So this is the spring one. It's got blue tits, it's got a nest, it's got eggs. And in the kit is even the little foam eggs. Aren't they gorgeous? And daffodils and pansies and anemones and everything you need. And the wreath. The wreath is in the kit. So everything you need is in the kit. Oh, except for the crochet hook, because lots of you have crochet hooks. We'll talk about that in a minute. So that's the spring one. So if you've missed out so far, we have got all of them today, because I know some of you have been collecting and waiting for the autumn one. But if you have missed out, we have got all of the kits today. So there's spring. Summer. I love summer because it's a heart. And the summer has got a swallow.
Yeah.
A swallow. Isn't it gorgeous? And roses and daisies. Love the big squishy roses. The squishy roses. But everything you need, as I said, is in the kit. The wreath. I'll show you the kits in a minute, but all the yarn and the wreath, everything you need, and even the little sort of extra bits like the eyes for the birds are in the kit as well. Really important, because it's really annoying, isn't it, when you get to that point and you can't find anything. You haven't got anything that's the right size, but even the eyes are in the kit. So that's summer. That's summer. I've just shown you autumn, and then winter. Actually, Sam can hold up winter. Can you show Sam holding up the winter? There we go. And the winter's got a robin.
Little robins.
Look. And Christmas roses.
Yes, hellebores.
Hellebores.
Yeah, and holly.
And berries.
And berries. And your leaves for your hellebores
And the
as
leaves.
well. And your little robin.
Okay. Right, and then autumn finally. So this is the brand new one, is autumn. Sam's going to show you that one. So there's autumn. That's the brand new one today. Look.
Let's get toadstools.
So let's have a look at, show you what you get in the kit, just to show how that you do get everything. Well, it all comes in this lovely drawstring bag for a start, which, as I can tell you, is very useful when you come to make it, because you can store it all in there as you're going along, because you have all these little bits. I know that because I have made the spring one. Obviously, full instructions, very important. And they are really good. They explain everything that you need to do. There's photos of the tricky bits, but everything you need, it's all in there. You get the wreath. That's really important, isn't it? Because you need the right size wreath. And what's lovely about this collection is all the wreaths go together, but they're all slightly different. So you get a different feel depending on the season. So that's the autumn wreath. Then you get all the yarn you need, which is cotton yarn. I'm going to make sure I don't lose any bits. So you've got all these lovely autumnal colours. I mean, everything you need. And if it's anything like the spring one, you'll have plenty of yarn left over as well. So that's all the yarn. You get a little bag of stuffing to stuff the owl with. And, look at that, a little bag of owl eyes. Just everything you've ever... So everything you need, except for the crochet hook, because we never put the crochet hooks in, because I know you often have those. If you need a crochet hook, you need a 3mm crochet hook, which we have on the website. There it is there. But if you just scroll down on the Watch Live, you'll see it there if you don't have a 3mm crochet hook. So everything you need, even down to the little eyes. Now, that's the kits for all of them. Very similar, obviously just different colours and slightly different things. But other than that, everything you need. Now, if you have missed out and you haven't bought all of the kits and you would like to, I've put together a special bundle, one of each of the kits. Save £10. Save £10. Now, look at them together. Oh, they're gorgeous. So you can do what I've done, or going to do, hang one on a door at the beginning of each season, take it out and put the new one up, or on your front door or somewhere else in the house, hang it above the mantelpiece, or you can just put them all up together. It's up to you. I'm going to swap mine over each season when I finish them all. But because I put them together, £10 saving that means it goes on to split pay. So £129.99. So if you want to split the pay over 2 months, you can pay £64.99 today. It will get sent to you straight away, and then in a month's time you'll be charged the other £64.99. Now that's interest free. We won't make any money from that. It's just that a lot of you have asked us, with the larger payments, can we just make it an easier way to pay? So if you want to split pay that one, then you can. 2 payments of £64.99. But if you want all 4 wreaths, and honestly, having done one, they are gorgeous. Love them. Right, Sam. So
Hello.
It's a shame. Are you feeling a bit sad?
To have finished them. Yes, sad and really happy to see them all together.
Yeah, that's true.
Has been almost a whole year now since I did the
Yeah,
first one.
exactly. Well,
so,
the first one was in...
Yeah.
We did Christmas in November,
That's
didn't we?
right. It was my first show. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
And here we are on
It
autumn.
does feel like a milestone.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I know we're going to have to think what we can do next as our seasonal make.
Yes.
So which, where do we start? Would you recommend anything particular as an easy bit to start with?
So
or?
the easiest bit on the autumn one are the flowers. So these little coral coloured flowers. There's like an autumn daisy.
Okay.
So we could start with those. And then you've got the sunflower and you've got the leaves, and they're both similar difficulty. And then you've got the toadstool and the owl, which are both amigurumi. So you've got the different skills for that.
Fab.
But they're all very similar skills. Whichever wreath you do, you'll be using similar skills. So if you've done more than one, once you start on the second one, you'll realise, okay, I've done a leaf before. I know that technique. That's familiar. So, yeah, so a lot of the techniques and stitches and things you'll become familiar with. So the more you do, the more sort of fun you have with it.
Fab.
So if I start with the daisy... So the daisies have got...
Is that the little pink ones?
That's the little pink ones.
Okay.
Shall I put one under here so you can see it? So that's these ones. So they just could bring a little pop of colour to it.
Okay, well, they're pretty.
So for those, so just as a little note about the pattern, as you said, you've got loads of detail in there. You've got pattern reading tips, stitches used, and a note about hook size. So it's a double knit cotton yarn. I would normally use a 4mm hook for a DK yarn, But because you want these makes to come up nice and tight and hold their shape, I've gone down a hook size.
Right, okay,
So
I did, well, I mean, I've done it
yeah.
and it was fine, but I wondered because
That's why I
smaller
suggest
than normal.
a 3mm.
Right.
So do bear that in mind. So if you find your tension comes out a bit tighter normally, you might want to stick with a 3.5 or a 4.
Okay.
And if you find your tension comes out a bit looser normally, you might even want to go down to a 2.5 or a 2.
Oh, right,
But you can
okay.
have a little play about because it doesn't matter. They don't all have to be exactly the same
Oh, no,
size.
that's true. You haven't got to fit.
Exactly. So, so you can. What you could do is do the first one in a 4mm hook, get the hang of the pattern, and then try different hook sizes. So there's a little note about that.
Fab.
And then you've got all your patterns. So for a good one to start with would be the daisy, and you're going to start with the centre colour, this is called ginger, and
Nice.
you're going to start with a magic ring. So I've done these frequently, so hopefully if you've followed any of my patterns before, you might be getting the hang of it. But you're going to start with the tail in the palm of your hand, bring the other end over to make a loop, like so. So you've got the tail underneath and the other end looped over it. And you're then going to put your thumb on the bit where it's crossed and put your hook through from the front, grab this piece of yarn and put it back through to the front and slightly up in the air. And then you're going to make one more chain with this end here. So you can either get into position, as I call it, or you can just hold it tense another way. So that's your magic ring. So let's move that out of the way a bit so you can see it clearly. So you've got this circle here and you've got this tangly bit here. So if you're right-handed, the bit where the two bits of yarn are twisted around each other will be on the left, and if you're left-handed, it'll lie on the other side.
Right, okay.
So it will look the opposite if you're left-handed. And you're just going to make 6 double crochets in that ring. So you're going to put your hook through the ring, pull the yarn back through, gives you 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and through the 2. So that's 1 double crochet made. And now you're going to repeat that until you've got 6. So hook through, pull the yarn back through, gives you 2 loops, yarn over, through the 2. And if you find this gets a bit unwieldy, you can just tighten it a little bit by pulling that tail there.
Okay.
So I've done 2 stitches so far, so I'm going to keep going. 4, 5. So this is actually how you start amigurumi. So it's also a bit of an introduction to when you come to your owl and your toadstool. So you've then got your 6 stitches, and if you just twist them, you can see your V's at the top there. And make sure they haven't twisted themselves around. You want all of the V's to be sitting at the top of the work. So sometimes when I'm teaching this, these bits have got twisted into the circle, so you can just adjust them.
Okay.
Make sure they're all sitting on the top. And then I'll put that back in there so I don't lose it. Pull this tail, and this is where the magic happens. It tightens right up and you get a tiny little circle.
That's fab. Do you know what? I always pull the other one.
Oh, do you?
The
one that's attached to the ball?
Yes.
Well, if it works,
well, it does,
that's
but not as
fine.
nicely as that.
It is quite a nice, satisfying thing to do.
And then I have to sort of pull it again. That's really funny. So I do exactly the same way, but I pull the other end.
There you
Oh,
go.
brilliant. Right,
Try it the other way next time.
Yes, I
see what
will. Well, no,
happens.
because it is a bit hard to pull it. It doesn't pull up as nicely as that.
Yeah.
I've obviously learnt it wrong.
There we go.
There you go.
Something
Fantastic.
to
I've
work
learned so much today. That's fab.
I mean, I do always say, if it doesn't pull straight away, really do pull on that tail, because it will close if you've done the magic ring like that. So don't worry if you have to be a bit
really
firmer.
good. Isn't that weird? I've always
just
done the other
often
one.
it's just a little tweak. It's just something tiny makes a difference. Okay, so you've got this tiny little circle here, and because we're using the amigurumi technique just to start the centre of the daisy, you put your stitch marker underneath the very last stitch that you made. So that is here. So it's underneath the hook, and you've got the loop on the hook, it's sort of behind there. Some people mark the first one, that's also fine. It's just I've got into the habit of doing the last one.
I know, I do that now after you told me.
Do you? Yeah. Does it help?
Yes, loads. No,
Brilliant.
you're right. It makes it easier to count, because I used to do the first one, but it actually makes counting easier, and I've no idea why.
I think there's a strange psychology to it, but some people think the other way is easier. So it's obviously how our brains work, something about it. But yeah, but for me, that just seems to make sense. Okay, and now when you've come to the end here, for the second round, you're going to put 2 double crochets into every little stitch around. So where, again, this is the amigurumi technique. So you finish the round, but you haven't slip stitched it closed. You're just going to carry straight on into that first V there. And if you can't see it, count backwards. So again, that's helpful that you've marked the last one, because that's, you know, we can call it either 6 or 1. So you could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or even 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that first one there that you made is the one you've got to put your hook under first. So you put your hook under it, making sure you go under both strands of the V, pull the yarn back through. So with cotton, it can be a bit splitty. Don't worry, just take your time and make your double crochet. So I've done 1 in there, but for this round, I want to do 2 into every stitch.
Okay.
So going back in that same stitch, pull it back through, yarn over through the 2. And then continuing that around, so 2 into every stitch around. If you find it splits, just make your loops a little bit looser. And so I'll do 2 into everyone around. So don't worry if it's splitting, just take your time with it. But you can see that's going in. The key with crochet is to have things maybe even a little bit looser than you think. Okay, and then you get to the final stitch here. It's marked with a stitch marker, so I know that's my last. So that's where the psychology for me, I think it works really well. Ah, this is my last one. Yeah. So take the stitch marker out.
I think also the first stitch is often maybe a little bit baggier or looser or something.
Yeah.
So the stitch marker would look slightly different.
Maybe it sort of changes the shape of it.
But the last stitch is a bit more defined.
Yes, it is. It definitely is. So then I've done 2 in that final one where the stitch marker is. Now normally with amigurumi I'd then go on to mark that one with the stitch marker, but I've done all I need to do for this bit now, and in the pattern it tells you to do a slip stitch in the first one you made, which is here. So it is slightly tucked down where you've got that spiral shape, and I'm just going to put my hook through, pull the yarn through there and straight through the loop on my hook, and that's the centre of my daisy complete. So I'm just going to fasten that off, and you can see all I do for that. Everyone fastens off differently, and whichever way you do it's fine, but I just pull my loop up, get my scissors. Don't know why I do it like this, it's just a habit. Snip at the top there. One reason is I know that that's the length of tail I've got to sew in, but there we go. So that's the centre finished. And now we need to add your petals, and I'm having, oh, there's my colour. So, I mean, you can do these in any colour you like, but I wanted to really brighten it up. So you've got this coral in your set.
I think it's lovely. I think it really makes it. It also ties them together as well.
Yeah, it just makes it pop a bit, doesn't it? So, you know, I like colourful. So, okay, so you go under, now you're going to join this one in any of the stitches that you've made on that last round. So because we're always working on the right side and not turning it, the V's are faced up towards you. So if you're used to working rows back and forth, that's something that takes a bit of adjustment when you're working these sorts of patterns, because you're used to looking at it from behind to find where to go. So you've got these strands here, the 2 strands of your V, of your stitch, that are slanted down towards you. So put your hook under there, put a loop of your new colour on it, pull it through, and that's it, make sure it's not split, and just make 1 chain to secure it, and that's how I join my colour. So you can see that. So as I said, this is a really effective little straightforward pattern, because now we're just going to make the petals. So you chain 3 in the air, 1, 2, 3, so that's additional to that chain 1 that you joined with, because when you pull the tail that disappears in there. Find the next V along, so that's there, and you're going to make 3 double trebles in there. So yarn over twice for a double treble, under that V, pull the yarn back through, gives you 4 loops on your hook, and then because it's a double treble you just go yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. So that's 1 double treble done. You can see it's a really tall stitch.
Yeah, it is, really tall.
And then another. I love making double trebles. There's something really satisfying about it. I don't know why.
I made a treble there the day. It's
they're brilliant,
aren't they? Aren't they? I was like, whoa.
Because it's really nice going yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. And you make this really effective stitch. And then I've done my 3 double trebles. So if you look at it like so, I've got my chain 3, 3 double trebles in this stitch. They're also really easy to count because you just count these tall posts here. And then you do 3 chain and you find the next V along and you do a slip stitch in there. And that's 1 petal made, so you can see how
That's
effective
really clever,
that is.
isn't it?
It's
So it
really
just pulls
sweet.
it all the way down, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it just gives it a
Really
really lovely
cute.
shape. And you continue
that's
that
it.
all the way around.
Oh.
Yeah.
So these patterns that you get with the wreath, you can use them for other things as well. can't
Yeah, absolutely. Garlands,
Badges.
brooches, winter hat decorations.
Fantastic, yes.
Yeah, really versatile. So that's that one.
you? Right.
So as I say, that's not actually the first pattern you come across in the kit. I've actually done the sunflower first.
Okay.
I don't know why, I kind of just enjoy
Don't
doing
know.
the sunflower.
Well, you can do them whatever
But
order
if you want to start with the
like.
easiest, that's the
That's the
one I
one.
would suggest
Okay.
to ease yourself in. So, shall I move on to the sunflower?
Yeah, let's do the sunflower because that is gorgeous, isn't it? I
really-
like the colour.
Yes.
The colour is really
It's
clever,
mustard.
actually, because it isn't your normal yellow,
It's
is
not
it?
too bright, is
That's,
it?
and
It's
that's
kind of
the joy of the kit,
yes.
is that it's exactly the right colour for an autumn
It
sunflower.
just feels it's got.
It's
that
almost
kind
like
of, yeah.
it didn't used to be that colour,
Yes.
but in the summer it was bright yellow, and then it became.
Yeah,
they
that's
do
so
darken,
true. I
don't
have
they?
got one like that in my garden at the moment. Yeah.
That they change.
Yeah, and it's sort of gone, darker. Yeah.
It's beautiful. I love that colour. Really sweet.
Same with the orange, because it's got that kind of rusty look to it
Yes,
rather
yeah.
than bright. Okay, so that's what we're aiming
I
for.
love
We've got the
them.
3 steps now.
That's definitely a brooch, isn't it?
It's definitely, you could definitely do something else with that. Or garland, or just, So I'm going to turn to the pattern just to make sure I demonstrate it accurately. Okay, so you're going to start again with a magic ring. So untangle my brown. There we go. So once again with the magic ring, I'll just do it a bit quicker this time if that's okay.
Yeah,
so
that's
tail,
You just have
oops.
to rewind.
Yes,
Make it a
loop
bit slower.
it over. There's lots of magic rings in this. Okay, and then you go through, pull the yarn back through, and that's where I said you can either get into position or you can just pull it. Sometimes I hold it like that, just pull it through to make 1 chain. Magic ring made. Okay, and then you're going slightly different now. We're going to make stitches into this ring, but they're slightly different stitches. So you start with a chain 3, pretending to be a treble, and then you do a treble. So for a treble, you're doing yarn over, into the ring, pull back through, gives you 3 loops, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. And that's actually pretending to be a cluster. So we're going to work with 2 treble clusters today for the sunflower. So another really fun stitch. So now you've done that, you do a chain 1 in the air, so it just gives you a little bit of a space, and now we're going to do a 2 treble cluster. So as I said, you've got all the descriptions of these stitches in your kit. So there's a whole page of the stitch guide with a description of
right.
how to do it. So there's quite a lot of different stitches when you're
Yes.
making things like this. So you've got that page to refer back to if
But
you
if
think
you're not sure.
treble cluster,
So
I
we've
can't
got a
quite
nice
remember that
message
was.
from Margaret coming on the bottom. These are excellent kits. Ordered the Autumn Wreath kit and I now have the complete set. Made winter and spring and in the middle of summer. Love them.
Oh, that's
Sent by
brilliant.
Margaret.
Thank you,
That's
Margaret. I'm
great.
so glad to hear you've enjoyed
Well,
them.
the set is now sold out.
Ooh.
So, and strangely enough, autumn is the most popular.
Funny that.
Funny that, because it's the new one. But we still do have them individually if you want the whole set. If you want the winter one, there are only 5 left of that. So if you do want them, there are only 5. So we have got a few left individually, but the whole sort of set with the £10 off is sold out now.
That's brilliant.
And the winter is only got 5 left. There we go. Okay, right.
Back to those treble clusters.
Back to autumn.
Yeah. Okay, so at the stage where I've done a chain 1 and now I'm about to do a two treble cluster in the ring. So yarn over first, hook in, pull the yarn back through. So you're starting off a trebles basically with these clusters, whether it's treble, double treble or treble treble. I did do treble clusters with John last time I was in.
Oh, really?
And
I've never done a treble treble.
They're really fun. So it's the same principle every time that you start the stitch and you get as far as only having 2 loops left on your hook, hoop, loop, and then you start the next one, and then you're going to join them all together. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So we're starting a treble. So I've got my 3 loops on my hook, yarn over through 2, leave those 2 loops on your hook and start your second one. So yarn over, in I go again, pull back through, and then the first part of the treble, yarn over through 2, and it's a 2 treble cluster. So I've got these 2 little posts here, 3 loops left on my hook, yarn over through all 3. So you're joining. It's a bit like a decrease, actually. In fact, it is exactly the same as when you decrease treble 2 together, except you're not working over 2 stitches. So you've got these 2 posts, but with just the 1 V at the top there. And then you're doing the same again.
And that's to make the centre sort of look.
And it's trying to go for a seedy look.
That kind of bobbly look.
Yeah,
it
lots of texture.
It really does work.
So the yarn over again. So I've done my chain 1 and another one. I'll just do one more to show you. So start your treble, yarn over through 2, leave the 2 loops on the hook, start your second treble into there, pull back through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and through all 3. So far I've got 3 little groups. I've got my first pretend one and 2 more. I'm just going to whiz round and do another 3. So you're going to end up with 6 of these little 2 treble clusters. So you really are hopefully getting that sort of texture of a centre of a sunflower.
No, it's really nice. I like all the detail that you add into it like that, because you could just have done it as a completely flat circle. But it really makes a difference. It does feel real.
It's a sort of, it might be a slightly new technique, but it's not too tricky either.
No, not at all.
So I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you pull the tail, and then you're going to do, so you've got your little circle like so. So you can see, just looking at that bit, that it's more textural than if you were just done doubles. And then, because this first little one here was a treble and a chain 3, you skip the chain 3 and you do your slip stitch in the top of the treble, and that makes that look more like a cluster.
Yeah.
So just do your slip stitch in there. Now it might cup in ever so slightly. Don't worry about that. The third round sorts it out. But what I wanted to just show you was the fact that how you start off your second round, because there's one more round. I'll just show you this finished one in this brown. So just to show you. So again, you start with your pretend cluster. So chain 3 and a treble in that same place. And then again, you're doing chain 1 and 2 treble clusters, but your next one's going in that chain 1 space. See if I can show you it. So you've got a gap between your 2 stitches.
Yes.
So
it goes in that gap.
Yeah, and it's going in that gap. Whoops, no, it's not. It's going in
It's
that
going
gap.
in that gap, yeah.
So, and then we're going back to the 2 treble clusters, and you're working 1 into that chain 1 space, chaining 1 and putting 1 into the top of the next cluster. So it's 1 in the space, 1 in the cluster. And that way you're going to double the number. You've got this round, so you'll end up with 12.
Okay.
So it's quite hard to tell in that, but you end up with the centre of your sunflower.
Beautiful.
And then you're ready to add your yellow.
The exciting
The exciting bit.
I know, that looks like big chains as well.
Yes, it's another one that's really fun. So,
well, it's very effective, however you do it. I'm fascinated to see, because it looks like you've got lots of chains or lots of clusters or something.
That's exactly it. Okay, so so this is round 3. Okay, so you're joining yellow in any of the chain 1 spaces. So you've got a chain 1 between every single one of your clusters. So any of them is fine. I tend to veer away from that one where I've slip stitched, just so it's not in the way at first. So literally put your hook through the hole, pull through a loop of the yellow, like that. So I always join the same way, chain 1, and that secures it. So that's it joined. And then you're going to do a chain 3. So you're right, it's chains.
So that chain never is counted, is it?
I never count that first joining
That's
chain.
Just a thing.
Yeah, because ideally, when you come to weave the ends in and that gets pulled tight,
right,
it mimics how a stitch sits on the on the chain or the stitch.
Well, with the
So
magic
it
ring, that
gets-
first chain isn't ever counted.
No,
is it? That's
exactly.
Sort of a securing thing.
So exactly.
Oh, I didn't really know.
So it doesn't. don't think it makes an awful lot of
No,
difference, and
but-
some people might prefer
But
to
if
count
you're counting,
it.
it's
But yes,
you know,
it's
nice to know, really. So that joining chain, just ignore
that
that.
just does the job of joining.
Yes,
It's
and
like a
not-
tongue twister.
it's not a
It's
thing.
not a part of your
Right,
your new
okay.
chain 3. And that's something to bear in mind. Sometimes when you get to the end of a round and it says work into the third of the chain 3, remember you're not counting that first one you made.
Right.
So that can sometimes be a bit confusing.
Yes, and I often wonder, I think, is that the third one or is it the fourth one?
Yes.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah, top one is quite a good way of thinking about it in that context. Okay, so now in the same space, you're going to do a 2 double treble cluster.
Right.
Okay, so we did 2 treble clusters for the brown, and so for the yellow, we're taking it a step further because we want it to be a bit bigger and doing a 2 double treble cluster. So going back to what I said about the fact that when you do a cluster, you're just starting your stitches and not finishing them and keeping those loops on your hook ready for the final part. So let's follow that principle again.
Okay.
So it's yarn over twice because it's a double treble. Into that space, pull the yarn back through. So where it's a double treble, you end up with 4 loops now. Yarn over through 2, and then again, yarn over through 2. So where you've got your 2 loops left on your hook, you don't finish it.
Okay.
And it's a double treble cluster. So we've done 1 double treble. So now we start a second one. So yarn over twice, into that space, pull back through, and again, yarn over through 2, and again, yarn over through 2. So the final part of the double treble would be going yarn over through those last 2, but we've left that, and that leaves 3 loops on your hook. So it's yarn over through all 3. And then you finish by doing a chain 3, and then you slip stitch back down in that space. So it just completes the petal. Like so.
Oh, so similar to the daisy then.
Yes,
that
very
way.
similar. Yeah. So it's exactly the same principle, except I've brought them together at the top with the cluster rather than
Yeah,
doing just
yes.
a single double trebles.
That's really nice. And then you just repeat that.
Yeah. So I think the good thing about all these patterns in all these kits, for those that have bought all of them, is that you do start to think, oh, that's just like I did for the daisy.
Okay,
But,
so
you know,
you get a
do realise, yeah, and
similarity to
then
them.
you might be faced with, say, the hellebore pattern, and you'll think, oh, I think I know what I'm doing here because I did that with
Right.
so and so, and that
That's
kind
quite
of
useful, actually.
yeah,
isn't
it kind of gives you those tools to not be overwhelmed every time you start a new wreath because
Well,
you've
also,
got
I think, particularly if you're a beginner or you're sort of moving on from the granny square, because these are little things, you think, oh, well, I could just make a rose this evening.
Yes.
And you learn enough and unpick enough to
Yeah.
do the next thing. You're not committing to something massive, are you?
And I think the brilliant thing about these little patterns, like you say, is you could spend maybe however long it takes you getting your head around how to make the first one. And I always say to my customers, the second one is way quicker.
Yeah, it is.
Go away. And
Right.
like sometimes when I've taught a class and we've done something that's a bit fiddly but small, I really encourage people to go home and do another one straight away because the second time you do it, you've got context, you know where you're going with it, you've done the stitches before.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It's
And I
way
nearly
quicker.
always unpick the first
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Nearly always.
Yeah.
And then it's easier. But with little things like this, it's sort of more
Definitely,
achievable.
and then you can just, you know, the next evening sit and make
Yeah.
a few in front of the telly. And you do
Yeah.
actually learn the pattern off by heart.
Yeah, you do.
If you do them a few at a time, you know, so say you think, I'll do all my 5 sunflowers in one go, you could sit and do all your 5 centres and then pick them up. And you
Yes.
actually do find you're doing it without the pattern. It does.
And that's a really good way of learning because it really is. Loads of people go, oh, I can't crochet, I don't know how to do it. It's, you know, it doesn't take a genius, it's practice, isn't
Yeah,
it? It's just
exactly.
practice.
And I think quite a few people have messaged me saying, is this suitable for beginners? And I think if you've done some crochet, chain,
Yeah,
maybe a
yes.
double crochet, it's way easier than it looks.
Well,
it's
it's
just-
yes, it is, isn't it? 'Cause it's just, I mean,
Just
it's all about
take
counting,
it step
really,
by
isn't it?
step. Yeah, and don't you know, you sit down and think, I'll do one of those things and I'll get the hang of it tonight, and then anyway.
Yeah, and it's just such I mean, the kits are just such gorgeous quality because they're all cotton yarn and
Yeah.
they're just beautiful.
And lovely, like you said, you've got everything you need to
I know,
make
which
it,
is
so
wonderful because
not faffing about trying
so
to find
lovely,
50
particularly
eyes
things like the
and-
eggs.
Yeah.
I love the eggs. Well, I lost mine, but I found them again now. But you know, things like the eyes. Where are you going to find those?
Yeah, you end up having to buy 10 and pay a lot of money.
Indeed.
And, yeah.
So it is really, really nice.
Okay, so I've done my one petal, so I'll just show you what you do next and so you have the idea of how you continue that around. So then you chain 1 in the air and you find the next chain 1 space, and then you're going to do your repeat, which is slip stitch in the space, and again chain 3 in the air, a 2 double treble cluster. So then I'm starting my second double treble, finishing off by coming through all 3, chain 3 again, and slip stitch in that same space. And that's your little repeat there.
Oh, okay.
So you've got a chain 1 in between that's important to remember, because we'll use that next round.
Yes, I was thinking, how are we going to, because yours, the finished one, there's loads of petals.
Yes, there's 2 rounds of them.
Oh, right, okay.
So don't forget that chain 1. So you've got photographs and everything in your pattern, so it's all there to remind you. Okay, so is that enough for me
Yeah,
to
yeah,
then
no,
move on
that's
to the
good.
next round? So
Yeah,
you will
that's
end
good.
up with...
That's a single round.
That's at the end of
You've
that
got lots
round.
of bits of sunflowers here.
I have. I like to be prepared. So I've got to the end of that round. You will have 12. You should have, fingers crossed, even sometimes I don't have, but so do have a little count, 12 petals.
And that's really annoying.
It's so frustrating, isn't it? You think, oh, there's 2 there. I've jumped across 2 spaces. Okay, so you finish. I finished my 12th petal, chain 1, and slip stitch into the next space just to finish that round. But you don't need to fasten off because you're going to put another round in. So that's a finished one when you've done the final round.
How do you decide, when you design these, where do you start with it? I mean, how do you think, oh, well, I'll put some more on, or...
Yeah,
What's the
it's
process?
largely trial and error. I mean, it's been brilliant doing these 4 because, as I say, it's going back to similar techniques and things.
Yes,
but
true.
it's largely trial and error, looking at the real thing.
But they're all different though, aren't
Yeah.
they? Because, like the roses
Yeah.
are different to the daffodils.
The roses are different again. Then you've got the lavender on that one as
Yeah,
well, which
so-
is different again.
I mean, did you start off and put 1 round of petals in and think, oh, that's not enough?
Yes,
Oh,
and the
okay.
same with this centre. It took several tries with different stitches
Right.
until I thought, actually, I'm happy with that. It looks a bit like seeds now.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of discarded sunflowers around our house, a lot of half balls of wool and bits and bobs, and a lot of asking my 14-year-old daughter. She gets called in, Anna, what do you think? And my husband's quite good, actually. He's quite...
Is he? Are they interested? I do that with my family.
Yeah.
And they go, yeah, Mum, we're actually bored now.
Yeah,
Please don't
but
talk to
to a
us about this
certain
anymore.
extent, yeah, I think they do. In the end, you've kind of...
I go, look what I've made, look what I've made.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
go, yeah, okay.
What's it for? That's what I get.
What's it for?
It looks pretty, that's what it's for.
That's funny.
Okay, so final round. You're going to chain 1, and now we're going to work behind these petals from this round. So temporarily pull that petal forward and find that chain 1 space that you made between the 2 petals. So if you're struggling to find it, just lay them down like that, stretch out, it's this gap here.
Right.
Okay, so you can even put a stitch marker in it because it's easier to see it when it's laid flat. So you could even think, right, I need to work in here next. Mark, I know how much I love a stitch marker. Mark that. And now I've done my chain 1, so I pull forward that petal so I can get into here. Put your hook in there, take that out. So now you're going to use, those chain 1 spaces from the previous round. And then you're doing the same thing again. So you slip stitch, chain 3, and you're going to do a 2 double treble cluster in that space there. So this is it working into that chain 1 space now. So 1, 2, and then chain 3 again, and then slip stitch back in there. So it's much easier than it looks. Chain 1, put it forward, look for your next chain 1 space between petals. As I say, if you're not sure, lay it down, it's that V there. And once again,
So they sit behind.
they sit behind
Right.
them. That chain 1 you're making, when you slip stitch, must be behind those
Yes.
petals you already made.
And then you get another layer.
And then you get another
Beautiful.
layer.
Love them.
So it's really effective.
Fab. What
You
we can
end
do
up
next?
Let's do a leaf. Should
Yeah,
we do a
let's do a
leaf?
leaf. What
Do a
can we do
leaf doesn't
next?
take long. Leaf's actually, I said it was on a level with a sunflower earlier, but it's not. It's actually a bit easier.
Oh, okay.
So the leaf is another straightforward one, really. let me just see what colour. Let's do it in orange. Okay, so I've got one.
So you've got like orange and like a
So
tomato
I've done
red
it.
as
Yeah,
well,
so
haven't
we've got the
kit.
orange, a red, and also this beige. I think it's called sand that you can make them in. So on my wreath, I've done.
Oh yes, yeah.
So you've got the red, that one, the sand, and then the orange. So I've done 3 of each. But as you mentioned, you've got loads of yarn.
I bet you will.
So you can make them in any colours you like.
Okay,
and
so
you
there's the
will
plenty
have,
left over.
Yeah, there will be plenty left over. The only thing you'll probably use, if you decide to do 5 sunflowers, you'll probably use all your yellow.
Right, okay.
But all the other colours you can be really creative with. So you can put whatever number of whichever item you want. So I went for 3 reds, 3 orange, and 3 of the sand colour.
Okay, and then there is a picture, isn't there? Yes. So if you're like me, I'd copy it exactly and then stick it in exactly.
Yes. So yes, there's a picture to refer to,
Yes.
and I've also listed the quantities if you do want to do it exactly as I have. So on the second page, there's like a list of everything that's in it.
Oh, I decided when I made mine, I'll probably need more than that because I'm going to put loads on, and then thank goodness I didn't because it really filled it up.
It's amazing how quickly it fills it up. Okay, so for the leaf, you're going to start with a chain of 14. So this time you start with a slip knot on your hook, and then you're going to chain 14, 6, 7, 8. So this time, instead of starting into a magic ring, you're starting with a chain. And then you're going to do a sequence of half trebles and trebles. So you're going to do 1 half treble in the 3rd chain from the hook. So again, a half treble is a different stitch again. So it's yarn over hook first, underneath that loop of that 3rd chain. So 1, 2, 3. Pull the yarn back through, gives you 3 loops on your hook, yarn over through all 3. So you're working along the chain and you're making a sequence of half trebles and trebles. So it's, I think it was, let me just check. So it's 1 half treble into each of the next 4 chains. Whoops. Having a moment. Come on, you can do it. That's it. So, and 1 more. So I just want to show you what you do at the end here. And so then it's trebles. So that's just going to shape it into a slightly oval shape. Working under those single loops. You can work, if you work into 2, that's absolutely fine. However you normally work your foundation chain. And then when you get to the last one, you can see I've got a nice length of stitches there.
Yeah, so it's just a straight leaf.
Yes, 4 trebles in this one, and that sort of turns us around the corner.
So what sort of leaf is this?
This is an oak leaf.
Oh, okay, of course. Of course it is.
Can be any leaf you like, really.
It's
But
an oak leaf.
I was aiming for oak. So I just want to show, got to the end of this row here, and again, you've got photographs in your pattern. Turn it over now. So this might be a new way of working. So we're now looking at the bottom of the foundation chain. So you've got the V's underneath here, which were the tops of the stitches. And you're now going to work into these loops that are unworked at the base of the foundation chain, so underneath the stitches. So what you do is, you've done this one here, that's got those 4 trebles in, so find the next one along, so it's at the bottom of the next stitch. That's confusing language because really, as we look at it, it's at the top, but it's into this hole here. And you're putting a treble in there. And then a treble in the next one. And you work along like that. So you're now going to work all the way back along here. So you've effectively gone all the way around in an oval shape. And you end up with...
One of those.
the right way round, one of those.
A funny leaf.
Yes. So you could stop there if you don't want it to be an oak leaf.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that leaf is.
It's a bit of a non-leaf.
A non-leaf, yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about leaves, don't know what that one is.
So now you need to add one more round. So where you've worked all the way around, and you've made your oval shape, you've got stitches to work into all the way around it now. So the second round is where you add these lobey shapes. So this is where you need to look, really just take your time to read through the pattern, and you'll see you've got the stitches listed. And what you need to do is just follow the sequence between the commas. So it says, for example, chain 1, and then it says comma double crochet. So you've done a chain 1 and it says 1 double crochet, so that goes in the next one. And then it says slip stitch, so that goes in the next one. And then you come in the pattern to this part here with brackets. So when you're pattern reading, when you see some instructions in brackets, they all go in the same stitch.
Right.
So everything between these two brackets is going in the same stitch.
Okay.
So
if the commas
commas
between each
separate the
stitch.
stitches, and then everything in the brackets, if you see brackets like that, it means put it in the same stitch.
Right, okay.
I have explained that at the beginning of the pattern as well. You've got these pattern reading tips.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
so
really
it's
useful.
all there. So if you get to a point in any of the patterns where you think, oh, I'm not sure what she means by that, you've got that to refer
then
back
it will
to.
tell you.
Yes.
Because sometimes you get to patterns, you go, I've no idea what that is, and then you think, oh yeah, I didn't read the notes.
Yes, exactly. Always read that. And also designers do things differently, so it's there to help you. Okay, so then into the next stitch you're doing a double crochet, a treble, whoops, I split that.
Message from Donna. Beautiful wreaths. Watching while working on an Afghan for my niece who's off to uni next week.
Oh, how lovely.
Fantastic.
She'll treasure that,
Well,
won't
you need
she?
to make the wreaths as
Oh,
well.
yeah, she can hang them up in
Send her
her
one.
room.
And she's also said stitch markers and are an essential part of the crochet toolkit. They are.
Yeah,
They
love
are.
them. Absolutely brilliant.
I lose mine all the time.
Me
I'm
too.
always buying new ones, and I've got a lovely little tin, and I don't know where they go.
I know, I am exactly the same.
Where do they go?
They're the sort of thing you find under the sofa.
Yes,
And
and I had quite a big tin of them, but they seem to just disappear.
they
So we
do.
do have stitch markers on the website if you want them in all different shapes and sizes.
They are brilliant. You can't imagine how many uses they have until you get them. And then
Yeah,
it's like, oh,
but you
I can
have
use a stitch
to
marker
be
for that.
careful because there are knitting stitch markers, which are whole rings
Yes.
that you put on your needles.
Yes.
And they are completely different to crochet. They've got to be able to be removable.
You've got to be able to, take them off. That's it. So you've got the interlocking ones, and then you've got the ones that are like a little loop that's open. So yes,
But
you
those
do
ones
need to
that are
be-
rings are
I know
for
what you mean, the
knitting.
knitting ones.
And
yeah,
you slide those on your needle and off as you go along.
I can't even picture that.
Because it just, as you get to the knitting needle, then
It goes with the stitch.
yeah, and then
presumably.
you just take it off and
yeah.
put it on.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work for crochet.
No, you
You
have
have
to be
to
able to fasten it.
Yes.
Yes. So I've just done my chain 2, and then you slip stitch in the same place. So this was everything that's in those brackets, and you can see it's made a little lobe.
Okay.
So that's you follow it along, and you do exactly the same thing, but in different places you have different stitches, and so it makes so that's
Right.
this little lobe here. And then there's a bigger one. So just follow along the sequence. I was thinking, do I need to leave time to make the
Yeah, you've only got
amigurumi?
about 5 minutes
Okay,
now.
so-
But yeah, I think, that makes sense.
For example, you do a couple of slip stitches, which just moves you along. It says slip stitch times 2, so that's slip stitch into each of the next 2 stitches. And then again, you've got another set of instructions all in brackets. 1 half treble, 1 treble, and then 1 double treble, so yarn over twice, all in that same space. So you can see that builds up a bigger lobe. So you've got that bigger edge up there.
Right,
So
that
it's
just
just
makes a
following the
difference.
sequence of instructions, to put your stitches in there. And if you get to the end and you've got 1 stitch left or something, don't panic. It's fine.
a leaf.
Yeah, exactly. It's organic.
Yeah. And some of them come out a bit odd anyway. don't they? That one's been stamped on.
Yeah. So that's the leaves. So the only other thing to talk through really, you've got the owl and the toadstool that are
Right.
both amigurumi.
Okay.
So if I just talk a little bit about both of them, but I did briefly do the amigurumi at the beginning, but I'll remind people. So I've brought with you some bits to show you.
Yeah, no, that's lovely. It's so nice. I think I'd want lots of toadstools, but I'm not very good at less is more though. So I'd have loads of them.
I did 5 And then when I went to put them on the wreath, I thought, have I done too many? No, it's going on.
No, I'd have more. Put
I
loads
did have a
on.
moment of, I might have gone over the top
No,
there.
definitely not. I think it's nice that they're so packed.
Yeah, it's definitely nice.
Oh, you could have had another one behind that top sunflower.
Do you reckon?
Yes,
Yeah.
easily.
And the toadstools are really quick and easy to make. Right, so I'll start with the owl. I'm not sure, actually, do you know what? I'm not going to start the owl because it's dark. Oh, I'll start with the owl's body because that starts in beige. So I've done...
Yeah, you've only got about 5 minutes.
Okay,
so.
I've done the owl's head to a certain point, which I'll come back to in a minute,
Okay.
and the owl's eyes. And then for his body, it's the same. So for the head and the body, you start off by working exactly the same way. So the nice thing about Amigurumi, whether it's my patterns or anybody else's, is it always works the same way. So sometimes people write them differently, but the principle is the same. So if you've
Okay.
done any Amigurumi pattern, you then know when you tackle another pattern what's expected.
So amigurumi, for those of you thinking, what is she on about?
What is that word?
It's working round and round?
Yes,
Is there any more
it's
to that?
Japanese crochet technique.
Right.
And it's basically working three-dimensionally. So it's working in a spiral with no slip stitches, and it's just shaping your work so that you might start with a flat circle, and then you might shape it into a cylinder, and then you decrease again. So most toy patterns, anything that you see that's three-dimensional these days, the vast majority are made using the Amigurumi
But
technique.
it's actually just crochet.
It's crochet. It's a type of crochet,
Yeah.
and it's all double crochets. So it's not a new stitch or anything. It's just a way of
Gotcha, I
working.
never thought of that.
Yeah, it's always double crochet. So
And it's just the way you count.
it's
and
just
stuff,
the
but
way
it's
you
not a
work
different
it. It's like
technique
it's
as
almost
such.
like a mathematical technique.
Yeah. Okay.
'Cause
With increasing.
yeah, so but the way you increase is kind of in a pattern, a mathematical pattern. That makes it sound much more technical than it is. It's so easy,
Yeah.
honestly.
No, I know what you mean. Though.
So back to that magic ring. So for the body, you do start with the beige. So you loop it over, hook through, pull the yarn back through, and then one chain to secure it. So exactly what we did with the daisy, and we did also start the sunflower like this. But then again, exactly what we did the daisy with, I can't speak, so exactly the way we did the daisy, 6 double crochets in that ring. So 1, because I've done this before, I'm going to go a little bit faster. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so you've got your 6 with your V's at the top, pull that tail, tighten it. And again, it's really, really useful with Amigurumi techniques to use this stitch marker. And as I said before, I tend to put mine in the last stitch. Because you're working a spiral, and you can see how tiny these are the eyes. And you can see, you know, it can be hard to see the end of the round because you're not slip stitching, so you can easily lose track. The eyes are starting exactly the same way as well. So all the bits of the body and the toadstool, once you've got this technique, you can make all of those. So then you're finding the first one of the round. So like I said before, you can count back if you like, and you're putting 2 double crochets into every one. That's it. So 1, 2, and then 2 in the next. So here, where you're putting 2 into every one, you increase it to 12.
Okay.
Again, exactly what I did with the daisy. And the eyes and the head, they all start in the same way. So 2 into every one. And then you get to the last one, and you know it's the last one because you've got the stitch marker in it. Take the stitch marker out and put 2 in there. And then this time, because I'm continuing, I'm going to put that stitch marker underneath that last one I made. And the next round with Amigurumi, you do 1 in the next, 2 in the following. So this is
So
where
it's
that
like your
pattern,
mathematical
this
thing,
is
and
where
this
the
is how you
mathematical thing.
increase. Okay.
Yeah, so when you're increasing and keeping it flat, you do this pattern where every round you put 1 more single in between the increases. So for this one, we're doing 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So we're doing a single and then an increase. So by increase, I mean 2 double crochets in the same stitch. And where we started with 6, we're adding 6 each round. So
Yes,
this round's going
yeah.
to be 18.
And that keeps it flat.
And that keeps it flat. So with the owl, you actually keep going. So this is round 3 for his body. So I got to the last one, and it's always going to be a double in the last one. So that's quite nice to know. I finished with an increase. I must be doing it right. But it is useful to count. So if you're not sure, count back your stitches, because you can get a bit out of sequence if you've missed 1 or 2.
Right,
or added
okay.
1 or 2. So you should have 18 at the end of that round.
Well, that's great, Sam. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's lovely. I mean, obviously, these kits are beautiful. You know what's in them now. So
Yes.
we'll just do a quick recap of them. But thank you so much.
You're
And we
welcome.
will see you
Thank
back
you.
here soon.
Pleasure. Yes.
What date is it?
It's in 3 weeks' time.
It is, isn't it? I
can't
can't remember the date. I was looking at it the other day.
Yes. Beginning of October, I
Yeah,
think.
it is,
Must
but I
be,
can't
yeah.
remember. Anyway, but thank you so much. I'm just going to recap these because there are a lot of you who've got them in your basket and really need to check out. So, brand new today is the autumn kit, which is the one that Sam has just been demoing. In the kit, you get everything you need. Don't forget, you do get everything you need. So you get the full pattern. There's a picture of it. You get the beautiful wreath is in the kit. You get all the yarn you need, and you will have leftover. I'm missing one. And another one. All the yarn you need. You even get the stuffing for the owl. You get the owl's eyes. Everything you need is in there. Now, there are a lot of you who've got this in baskets who haven't checked out. Please, please do. The complete bundle of one of each of them has now sold out. So these are limited. So please do check out. Remember, there's only one P&P a day, which is £3.95. If you want any of the other kits, the spring or the summer or the winter, we do still have some of those left. I'm going to start with the spring. So in there, you've got everything you need, even, let me show you, even the eggs that go in the little nest, and the wreath, and all the decorations, and the ribbon that goes on the bow. So that's the spring one. Same price, £34.99. 10th of March, this was demoed. So if you want to watch back the demonstration for this one, if you just bought it, 10th of March. The next one is the summer one that's got the swallow. And again, you've got this beautiful wicker heart-shaped wreath and all the bits you need, even the eyes and the stuffing. This was demonstrated on the 23rd of June. Oh, we did very well then, that one, didn't we? That was the second day of summer.
Oh, yes. I hadn't thought of that at the
We're
time.
doing really well. Yeah, this is the 22nd. Oh, yeah, so the third day. And then the autumn one that Sam has just shown you, that's today. Oh, sorry, she's gone on. Well, that's fair enough. Autumn, there we go. That's got everything you need in it, the wreath. All the wreaths are slightly different, but they're all almost the same size. So they will fit in the same space if you're going to hang them up on your wall or put them on your mantelpiece or something. And then finally, there's the winter wreath, which has got the robin and the hellebores. Very, 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 very limited. There's only a few of those left. So please, if you've got them in your basket, please do check out. £3.95 postage per day. If you haven't got a crochet hook, you will need a 3mm crochet hook. Anyway, thank you for joining Sam and I today on Yarn Lane. It's been lovely. I've been with her throughout all of these seasonal wreaths. It's really nice to have got to the end, and I hope that you've all managed to get yours too. Yarn Lane will be back on Friday when we've got some fantastic Yarn Lane mystery packs with an amazing saving on yarn. I've spent the last few weeks at the warehouse sorting that out, so we've got these wonderful mystery bundles, and they'll also be back on Saturday, Monday with Christmas in Yarn Lane. So thank you for joining me today. If you have a look at the website, if there's anything else that you want to buy, remember it is only one P&P today. Thank you for joining us, and I will see you back here next week.